Now, I know a lot of people will tell you how great a camera is and how shooting with a certain camera has changed how they looked at photography. I've had the Ricoh GR3X for a hot minute, but what happens when the newness wears off and that camera that you're shooting just becomes another camera in your camera bag or on your shelf in your office? That is part of the reason why I will always do a follow-up review of a camera or lens on my channel. My first goal with anything is to let the gear acquisition syndrome settle down and then to really utilize a camera in a way that can be incorporated into my everyday life as a photographer. First and foremost, the 40mm focal length is hands down my favorite. 35 for me always seemed to be a bit too wide, and the 28 of the GR3 feels to me personally wider than I would care to have as an everyday shooter. Again, I love 40mm. It's also tight enough for intimate portrait, but just wide enough for a landscape or city scenes. I feel as if the 40mm is the holy grail for photography and is a focal length that is constantly slept on in photography. Now, a few of my favorite features on the Ricoh camera system is the snap focus. And in snap focus mode, you can preset your focal distance ahead of time, and when you power on the camera, the Ricoh automatically focuses on that distance. The snap focus feature is often better than autofocus because if you have a decent idea of how far you are from your subject or anything that you're shooting, then you can set your feet and trust the camera to capture anything that walks into the distant preset to be in focus. When I am photographing my kids out at the beach or out and around the house, I find the snap focus feature to be invaluable. I wish all cameras had this feature. As someone who is also right-handed but left-footed, one of the major annoyances of my life is that 95% of my photographs that I take have a horizon that is slightly off kilter. At least that is what I like to blame it on, or I could just have a leg that is shorter than the other. Maybe, I'm not quite sure. The Ricoh has this feature that helps a ton with this issue that I have, and it is a horizon correction. It does not do any massive correction, but it does enough to help so I don't have to always correct it in post in Lightroom. And if you have the in-body image stabilization on, it can correct your horizon tilt about 1 degree. Now, if you are into film simulations like in the Fujifilm cameras, then you can program this camera to have different film simulations as well. For me personally, I prefer to just work with an image in Lightroom, but I do know a lot of people who love the JPEG straight out of the camera with some minor tweaks internally to get the look you are searching for. Now, I like to crop my photos ever so slightly, so even if I use a film simulation, I would still pull the image into Lightroom for some minor tweaks to get the image just the way that I want it to look. But hey, if this is your thing, presets, then the Ricoh GR3 can provide it for you. Now, the last feature that I want to talk about, and that is the internal memory inside this camera. This feature alone has saved me a ton in a time or two. If you shoot a lot like me, you have a ton of memory cards lying around, and once or twice I've pulled a memory card and put it in the camera and I was not sure if I wanted to reformat it and possibly erase what was on the card that I just put in my camera. You know, I probably need to come up with a better system than just randomly picking up a memory card, But in those times that I've decided to not use the memory card, and I've been able to shoot with the internal memory inside the camera. Now with the Ricoh GR3X, you can take upwards of about 40 RAW photos and about 120 JPEGs. That is just about a roll of film shooting in RAW, and to be honest, sometimes having to only 40 images to shoot with really helps with my creativity, because I know I have to be really selective with what I photograph with this camera, because I only have 40 images to take. Now, I think those are some of the key features that I love about this camera after having it for, I've had it for a while, but after shooting with it for a few weeks, beyond the return period with this camera, it is just one of the many things that I truly, truly, truly enjoy about the Ricoh GR3. And I know that we all have that funky gear acquisition syndrome. We get something and you get a YouTuber and they tell you how much they love it and how great this camera is. And while all of those things are true, this is a great camera. But what happens when that camera is no longer great, where you don't feel excited to just pick it up and carry it with you all over the place? What happens when that new camera is sitting on YouTube with several reviewers, and now all of a sudden you're thinking about that? Are you still reaching for this camera? I am. So that's why I wanted to do a follow-up review. I hope you like it. If you have any questions about this camera, I will answer it down in the comment section. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. It is a cold Florida day, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.